Hi, this is Kamera. My first few minutes with God, day number 185, 2 Kings chapter 9 through 11. Elijah has a prophet to go and anoint Jehu as the next king of Israel. Also, further instructions, Jehu is to kill the entire family of Ahab, all relatives, slave free, uh, any close friends, and all relatives. So he goes out and he kills a wounded king of Israel, Joram, his parents happened to be Jezebel and Ahab. Everything that was done to Jeroboam in Baasha, where they're supposed to be cut off, wiped out, that is what's supposed to happen to Ahab's family. Ahaziah, king of Judah, is also a relative. He is killed. So that's two kings killed. When Jehu enters the palace gates, Jezebel calls out to him. She yells at him and calls him basically a treasonous murderer. He looks up, sees her at the window, and then he yells, "Who is on my side? Throw her down." And you have these three eunuchs who go and throw her out the window. When she lands on the ground, Jehu tramples her with his horse. Yeah, the horse hooves just trample all over her. Later on, when he decides he wants to go ahead and bury her because she is the daughter of a king, all they find is just a skull and her hands and her feet. The dogs had eaten her, right? Uh, Fearful, you have these fearful elders and guardians. They're going to do anything that Jehu tells them. So what do? These elders and guardians, they are guardians over King Ahab's 70 sons. Yeah, Jehu tells them to send him those sons, their heads. And they do. They kill the sons, 70 sons, and they deliver those heads in a basket to Jehu. Jehu, he piles them up in front of the city gates, till the morning. And then next morning, he addressed the people, let them know that this was the will of God, everything that was done. And this message was given or declared by God through the prophet Elijah. Yeah. Then Jehu proceeds to kill all the remaining relatives of Ahab who lived in that town. Personal friends, priests, whoever. So the priests were usually they were the priests of Baal. So priests, He then when he leaves there, he runs into King Ahaziah's relatives, captures them and killed all 42 of them. Went to Samaria. He killed the remaining relatives of Ahab's family. Yeah, the remaining Ahab's family. Jehu, he summons throughout all of Israel. He summons throughout all of Israel the prophets and the worshipers of Baal. Then he calls the priests of Baal and he tells them, he orders them to have a solemn feast to worship Baal. He threatens anyone who didn't come. Anyone who didn't come, then who does not come and you worship Baal, you will be killed. And so he gives out robes. When they come, he gives out robes to all of these people, all the worshipers of Baal, have them to go into the temple. And only the worshipers of Baal were allowed. The people who worship, the priests, all of them were allowed in this temple. No worshipers of God was allowed in this temple. And so just as, and he positioned 80 of his men outside that building. Anyone who leaves or escapes, kill them. And so what he does is right after the sacrifice to Baal, because he has to have this solemn feast. That's what they were for. Catch them unaware, right? And so just as they finished the sacrifice burnt offering, Jehu commands his guards and officers to kill them all with the sword. So every last one of those worshipers, the priests of Baal, the prophets of Baal, they were killed and their bodies were drugged outside. Then they go through and they tear down the pillars of Baal where they worship. They tear down everything, basically the altars of Baal. However, the temple was turned into a public toilet, and they say that it stands right now as a public toilet. Yeah. So the whole point was that Jehu was trying to destroy all tracers of Baal worship. But he didn't destroy the cows. Remember the cows that Jeroboam had created to keep the people in Israel away from Judah? Yeah. So he didn't destroy those cows. And yeah, those are the things that had led the children of Israel to sin in the first place. Yeah, so God was pleased with what Jehu had done concerning Ahab's family. Therefore, he told Jehu that his descendants will be king of Israel down to the fourth generation. But this is the thing, Jehu did not obey God fully with his whole heart. He didn't. He refused to turn from the sins that Jeroboam, had led Israel to commit. Around this time, God had cut down the size of the territory of Israel. He allowed King Hazael of Aram, remember him, to conquer several sections of Israel. So they lost some of their territory. Yeah. When Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, heard that her son was killed, she decided to kill the remaining members of the royal family. Ahaziah's son, though, excuse me, Ahaziah's son, he was saved. His sister, Ahaziah's sister, took an infant Joash, is his name, Joash, took him and hid him out with his nurse, separating him from the king's other sons. And then they raised him and hid him in the temple of the Lord. For 6 years, he stayed in the temple of the Lord. Athaliah, she ruled around that time. So she ruled for like 7 years. In her 7th year, things changed. Ahaziah's sister name is Jehosheba, and she was married to the Jehoiada, the priest. And they hid out Joash, in the 7th year of Athaliah's reign. That's when Jehoiada changed things. He strategized and planned a whole thing where he had favor with a lot of people, including commanders, who helped place Joash in place as king. He was only like 7 years old. 7 years old. And yeah, he did some strategizing to get a lot of cooperation to get Joash, and they talk about it, to get Joash into his place as king. They'll anoint him and proclaim him as king. Have trumpet playing, the people are rejoicing, they're so happy. Athaliah, she hears all this noise. She comes out, and when she sees, she is not happy. She sees that baby, that 7-year-old boy, on the throne with his crown, surrounded by commanders and trumpets. She yells, "Treason, treason!" Jehoiada, he commands the officers to take her out, have her killed, and they killed Athaliah. People were so happy. They did not like being ruled by her. And so Jehoiada, he made this agreement, or this new covenant. He, the king, the people made a new covenant with the Lord, that they would be his people. And they tore down, everything Baal. They killed the priests. They tore down the altar. They demolished everything Baal. So there you have it, guys. I know that was a lot to cover. It's so worth reading. It really is. I just gave you a brief summary of it, but there you have it, guys. That's day number 185, 2 Kings chapter 9 through 11. You have a God-filled blessed day.